Hey guys, we'll talk about WLGS. So this is a quick pre-market pop pattern. This ticker has been heavily manipulated before, so I always keep that in mind when I see plays like this. There's always some chance for games down at the support, bids showing up, volume coming in. But that it doesn't mean it's going to squeeze high day. But I thought to myself, hey, just did the quick pre-market pop, which I'm always inherently bearish. I'm always inherently bearish when something kind of pops on 100, 200,000 shares and instant fades. And yeah, so I wasn't in this because um, I wasn't at my computer. I tend to be not at my computer till like 7:45. Um, Kind of a problem of mine, but we'll talk about this. We'll talk about the book. This was really interesting. So we learned in it. We so one thing we learned in the strong markets is a lot of times when you get these down only pullbacks, they like to attack this empty space, and that's because the order book tends to be very, very thin to the upside up here, right? So it's very common to throw some bids. You get this deep instant pullback. You start throwing up bids down here, and then you rotate it through the empty space. Now, doesn't always mean it's going to break high day, but you like, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about making reads about you know, what type of price action is likely to continue to high day and what type of price action isn't likely to continue to high day, right? So here's your pre-market pop. You start pulling it down to support, and you notice down here. Sorry, I think I have to zoom in. They start throwing up bids. They start throwing up these little bids down here in the 60s, and then on the rotation it's 69 and 70. They start throwing up bids. You can see a ton of empty space. They're catching it with bids down here. So it's like, okay, well, maybe it rotates back up. You know, I'm really not interested. Of course, I'm on Trade Zero, so I'm not interested until it rotates above a dollar bump. Also, dollar's important because that's where the only lower high is, right? You got some lower highs, you got some lower highs, um, and really on a lot of these best shorts, they'll just especially the ones that don't continue to high day, they'll attack the lower highs. They'll fake out retail with some type of pattern, right? Some type of obvious retail pattern, and then they pull it, right? So we'll see that. Um, so I'm like, all right, well, here's a push, and I'm like, man, like again, we see this all the time. We get these big initiations, right? This is up only from 70 to 95. They start throwing up some ask to catch the retail chasers, right? These people. And then there's minimal bid support. Minimal bid support. You never know. Are they going to bring it down to this bid or going to bring it down to this bid? You never know. But it's like a lot of times on these big pushes where they don't have a lot of bids, um, a lot of times they'll throw one at a deeper level or a really deep level and they'll pull it back, right? Especially when these second pushes, right? These second low retail pushes right here, especially when these don't go, right? So, um, but a lot of times on these second pushes, you will say, we'll actually see it right here. A lot of times these little long traps that swipe become a painted lower high to attack later. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But like I said, I'm not really interested in this until it gets above $1 anyways. So what they do? All right, well, there was a bid here, and then there was a big bid at 70 cents. Where did this pull down to? 70 cents, right? They put the bid there, so they catch all the selling. But what do these pullbacks do? What do these pullbacks always do? They create a lot of empty space on the book, right? There's no orders on the book here, right? So they come down, they catch they catch the orders, they start to rotate it back up, and they start to put big 50,000 share bids, right? So they're doing this potentially, and you never know what's going to happen, but potentially to rotate it back through the empty space, which is what we get, right? Never really. So there's some selling into it, never gets tested, rotates it straight back up. But one thing you got to learn, we saw this on, if you go to my CMMB video, if you go to my APLM long video that I made yesterday, um, whenever you see big bids at deep support, on these big pushes, the bids need to follow it up. If there's no follow-up bids, it becomes a potential short, right? And I'm already pretty bearish this chart because not only the quick pre-market pop pattern, but also because this is up like 150%. This is clearing out backside levels. and I see no bids following up. So I'm inherently bearish to structure, right? I'm looking to get short, right? So I see this push, it breaks $1, and I'm not seeing any bids, but I'm not seeing any asks to the upside. So I was like, well, um, let me just wait to see what the reaction is. I don't really. Let me see if like new asks start getting put in, or let me see if there's a second kind of retail push. You get a pullback. You get like your $1 swipe and a second push. Let me wait for something cleaner, right? Like I like that there's no bids. I like that $1 got swiped, right? Let me just wait a little bit. So I saw the pullback, I saw the second push, and I saw the selling come in with no buyers, and I started putting my offers on the ask. You can actually see I'm in here. This is me. So because by the way, whenever these like big aggressive pushes happen, right, where you get like a big up only move, I actually like to zoom in on my book map. I like to zoom in because I really like to see uh, on a cent by cent level if new asks are coming in, what the exact price those asks are, what if any bids are coming in, what prices those are at. I like to zoom in. Um, and I know 120, has some offers, but that's pretty far away. And so I'm zooming in. I'm seeing, outside of a few bids at one, there's nothing below. So I'm like, all right, there's no bids. And I see these pushes, and I start seeing these asks come in up higher. I started to see these come in, and I try. And again, thanks to the beauty of SSR, thank you, SEC. A stock up 200% is on SSR. Thank you. You're really protecting retail longs by having a stock up 200% be on SSR. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I started to try to get filled here. Here's a bunch of orders. And then I tried moving these orders down. This is literally me. And whoever else is reading this, I'm just trying to get filled, trying to get filled, trying to get filled. Got filled 122 shares. And I saw not only did I see all these new asks coming in, but I see this guy coming too, and I'm like, this is great. This is already A+. This is already a good short. And then we got it didn't fade right away. It initially pulled back, and we got a very obvious retail pattern: higher lows, lower highs. I thought this might fail because this, if we actually look at this, so here's the flag. There's a big $1 ask that got filled. No further buying, no bids, and I thought this was just going to pull back down. But you see here, down here, they started throwing 26,000 shares on the bid. That just means, hey, we don't want this to come down right now. But in mine, if I was actually short this, the main level I'm looking at is this 108 guy. Like he's like the resistance, right? Especially if I think this is like a retail flag with some painted higher lows, and if I think this push is gonna fail, like if I think, okay, like they don't want to pull it yet, and I see them walking the bid up, okay, potentially bullish, but what really matters, overall, since I'm bearish to structure and I try to short this candle, right? Um, I'm usually bearish for a reason. It's because of this type of price action. It's because of the lack of bids, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But when I'm in a trade, I just look to see where the offers are, and I like to see if these pushes, are they going to take out these offers? Are they not going to take? If they take them out, what's the reaction? Does it go straight up? Does it go up a few cents to start to stall and then pull back down? Like, are the bids following up? I see bids down here, but are there, on the actual retail push, do I see any bids above this 95 guy? Right? Like, APLM had new bids, new bids, new bids, new bids. CMMB had new bids, new bids, new bids. But if there are, just because there's bids that support doesn't mean there's going to be new bids following us up. So I see this retail push it doesn't even test 108, and then I see the pullback, and I try to get short again here, but thanks to the beauty of SSR, I got filled none of my shares. And then yeah, the rest of this is super bearish. They start look, they're moving in this after a potential long trap like this that fails. When you start to see the ass start getting moved down, and the volume starts to disappear, it's super bearish. It's super bearish. Okay, big ask here, ask. Do what? Look at this. All these new asks come down, and then there's no bids. There's no bids down here. So zoom out. Yeah, there's always like down here, guys. By the way, guys, these moves happens because the order book's so thin. So you get these bounce. But only thing that matters is this. Like, if you're short this, what matters now is all these guys right here. That's all that matters. Is these guys right here. All right. Until these guys get taken out, whatever happens down here doesn't matter. All right. New ask. Super weak. Bids get pulled. Super weak. Everything's super weak. And yeah, it went down 35% straight down from my entry. It was pretty nice. I wish I was in it with more size. Um, but yeah, today ended up being kind of a wash. SGD shares were too expensive on my broker, and then this was the main thing I wanted traded. And um, yeah, sadly I could not get filled with SSRBS. So the last move was this. Shout out to people in my room who traded this. This was another great book map read. I kind of messed this one up. This was my last final chance to really get in on this trade. For some reason, I thought maybe like I don't know. I thought maybe this. I just didn't have the right read on this. I wasn't long. I wasn't short. But we'll go to this move. This move was pretty interesting. So what they did, by the way, what they did was really interesting on this. So on this push, there was 150,000 shares on the ask. It got completely filled up here. And then again, big aggressive move, no bid support. They pull it, but what they do is they stacked like 70,000 shares at 0.7 down here, and I saw that. And not only did they stack it, if you zoom in, you can actually see them start to move the bid up. Here's 0.74 moving the bid up, tons of empty space, and then they manipulate it into an up halt. So it's like, okay, I really hope it gets above $1. That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, I told my Discord room, information down below, by the way. I was like, man, I hope it just keeps squeezing. So what's interesting is that it up halted here and instantly sold off. Again, what's a key concept of these on these manipulated tickers? What's one of the key concepts on these deep pullbacks? It creates a lot of empty space on the order book. So what do? Okay, it unhalts. You can even see ahead of time. You could see it all the way here when it was in the high 80s that there's a big bid at 78 cents, and I'm like, I was DMing a friend. I was like, yeah, the only bid's at 78 right now. This is the only bid. There's one bid at 78. Where does it pull down to? It pulls down to 78. See, this low is exactly 78. Why? Because that's where the bid is. So they catch the bid. Then we zoom out. Hey, they threw this up here to shove this down. It fills at 78, and they remove it. Isn't that funny? They remove it, and if we zoom out, there's another guy did come in here. He got filled, and if we zoom in, once this guy got filled, there was like a little bit on 95, but really $1 ended up being where the next big ask was. And what do we get? Get a big squeeze. Okay, big squeeze. What am I looking at? Are bids following this up, right? And for some reason, I thought this would I don't know. I thought it would pull back and give like a second push, or this is one of those where it's like we'll see what happens. It breaks the level, and then it instant pulls. So there's no bids, no bids. And what some people do, this is Mikey Underdog. Check out his YouTube channel and Discord. He talks a lot about once these once these key ask levels get broken, what really matters is if a big ask is broken at a level that you think could be a potential short, what's the buying like above that level, right? Like, and also what's the bid supports, but like how many orders are actually going through the tape right here? Like, is there actually once it's broke? Because the thing about $1 is on a backside play like this, these like down only backside plays, shorts will risk $1, right? And longs will also buy it, right? So it's like, there's going to be a lot of stop losses. There's going to be a lot of buying happening at that level. So once the initial buying, once that initial burst comes through, what does the follow up buying look like? That's really what's important. It's are there bidders following this up? The answer is no. And then is there actually a lot of follow-up buyers in this thing? Because maybe it just gets endlessly slapped to high a day, but when I see a lack of bidders, and then the buying starts to stall, um, and then you could see there's a big ask at 110, and then right before it dumps, you can actually start to see more guys come in. But for some reason I just didn't have the read on this, so I can't say I was able to get in on my entry up here. But some people in my room got it, they sized in, and yeah, this ended up being kind of the beginning of the fade. It looks like, by the way, they just kind of threw up a bid in the 60s here. It looks like they just held it into the end of the day. Who knows what's going to happen with this? Could just fade, could squeeze in the after hours, like who knows. But yeah, I thought, you know, these manipulated pushes, again, key concept, if there's no bids following it up and this doesn't immediately squeeze, and you start getting low volume pullbacks and retail long patterns like this, and you don't get any follow through, and there's no bids, and you have offers up to the upside that you can risk. There's that 108 guy that was there, and then once this pulled back, there was even more being stacked lower, yeah, it was great. It was great. I wish I was in it. Would have been an end to a great week. I was not pretty much, I was green every single day. I had a bunch of big trades, took minimal losses, and any loss I did have, I had a read later that I was able to make it back. So yeah, WLGS. I wish I was in it. So or in it with a lot more size, not 100 shares. So okay, yeah, WLGS. Information down below about my Discord. And yeah, see you guys next week.